Hey everyone, you should be following along on your note sheet to fill in the following definitions. So the first definition is of adjacent angles. And adjacent angles are angles that share a vertex and a side. All right, and adjacent really means next to. Means there are two angles right next to each other. All right, so let's look at the example to make sure we understand the definition. In the example over here, we have two angles. I have CAB, I outlined that in red, and BAD. They share the vertex A, and they share the side BA. So I'm just going to write the two adjacent angles. Angle CAB and angle BAD. All right, and now on the second picture, we have a couple different adjacent angles. So first, we have this angle. That is angle OSN. That angle is adjacent with this one because they share the vertex S and they share the side SN. So I'm going to finish that. That is with angle, let me see, this looks like an LSN. And there's other adjacent angles here too. There's also an adjacent angle here, DSL. That's adjacent with LSN. They just share a different side. All right, so let's do the next definition. And that is a linear pair. So a linear pair, by definition, linear, you should see the word line in there. Pair means two. Two adjacent angles that form a straight line. And I'm going to write down here a star that they add to 180 degrees because a straight line is 180 degrees. All right, so now let's look at our example. 1 and 2 are considered a linear pair because 1 is adjacent to 2. They share this side right here. And together, they do make a straight line. Right there's the straight line. So if you could do this, angle 1 plus angle 2 must equal 180 degrees. All right. Next, we have vertical angles. Vertical angles are really important. You're going to see them everywhere. So these are two angles opposite each other in the intersection of two lines. And I'm going to write something really important here. This sentence we will say so many times this year. Vertical angles are congruent. It's really, really, really important. All right, so let's look at our picture to see if we can find two angles opposite each other in the intersection of two lines. All right, so here's our two lines, line 1 and line 2. When they intersect, they form four angles, 1, 4, 2, and 3. Angle 1 and 2 are vertical because look at angle 1 is right here. It's opposite angle 2. I'm going to put a tick mark, tick mark, tick mark. And then I'm going to look at the other set of angles, 3 and 4. 3 and 4, also across from each other, and those are also congruent. So I'm going to put two sets of tick marks there. So we could write this. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, and also angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. All right, complementary angles. These are two angles that give each other complements all the time. Just kidding. They are two angles that sum to 90 degrees. Pretty easy to remember. two angles that sum to 90 degrees. All right, look at the examples. So this symbol right here, that symbol means 90 degrees. So we could write this, angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90. And these are adjacent, but complementary angles don't have to be adjacent. These are not adjacent. This angle is 65, this angle is 25. So if I did angle A plus angle B, that would be 65 plus 25. That equals 90. So that's why those are also complementary. All right, a couple more. Next we have supplementary. So really similar definition to complementary. Supplementary are angles that sum to 180 degrees. And I'm going to write here that make a straight line. And the only way I can remember this versus complementary is straight starts with an S. Supplementary starts with an S. So supplementary, straight line, 180 degrees. All right, so if we look at all these examples, this first example says angle 3 and angle 4. That's here. That's 3. That's 4. Together, those two angles, 3 and 4, will make a straight line, right? So we could write angle 3 plus angle 4 equals 180 because of this straight line they create. All right, and then we have these two angles, P and Q. 120 is P plus 60, that's Q. That equals 180. So those are supplementary. All right. And then the last word is perpendicular. Perpendicular is when two lines, and they could also be segments, all right, lines / segments, intersect at 90 degrees. And perpendicular has a symbol. It's this, it's like an upside down T. So that's really important. You will see that symbol. All right. So example, this says lines A and B. That's this line. And line DE. So AB, DE are perpendicular. That symbol right there is the little right angle box. And actually, since they're perpendicular, if you look closely at this picture, DCB is supplementary with BCE, which means these two angles have to add to 90, or have to add to 180, which means this is also perpendicular. That's also 90. That's also 90. That's also 90. So I'm actually going to write perpendicular lines create 4 90-degree angles. All right, so you should have the front of your paper completed with all of these definitions, okay? If you need to look back at them and rewatch, go ahead. We will use these definitions in class tomorrow.